Okay, I'm talking to Gary Young, crew chief in the Rebels. What year were you at, Gary?
67, 68.
Okay, same time as me, same years as me. Okay, tell me about the Rebels.
About a story about what happened to us?
Yeah, tell stories and history, anything you want to talk about.
Okay, well, I'll tell you about the day at Song Bay Mountain was probably my worst day. It was the scariest day of my life. It was myself, Mr. Morgan, Mr. Aldrich, and Pop. We were flying up there to support Green Berets that were advisors to the Arvins. And we get there, he's telling us where to fire, and he's pretty frantic on the radio. So we make one good pass, we come back around, and the last thing I heard him say was, "I don't care where you shoot, I'm a dead man." So we came around.
That was the guy on the ground?
Yeah, that's the guy, the Green Beret on the ground.
Uh-huh.
We come around, made the other pass, and I was restringing my ammo, and we weren't that far off the trees, maybe 100 feet or so. And I looked down and I seen the bushes open up, and it didn't register at first until it started shooting at us. It was anti-aircraft stuff, and next thing I know, my life flashing in front of me, and I'm back in my hometown with a friend of mine running down the street where we used to play all the time. It was so real. And I remember closing my eyes. I came back to reality and said, well, you're dead. You can't get out of this one. They got you zeroed in. So I took one of them out. I just concentrated my fire on one, which was probably wrong, but I did. I took him out. And
that was the anti-aircraft?
Yeah. Luckily, our pilot, I couldn't even talk to tell him. I was keying the mic, and he seen it coming through the blades and everything. And Pop and I are standing way inside, back to back, shooting at him, and we probably was only under fire maybe 10 seconds, because he just kept veering away from them. So we were out of their sight line then.
Yeah.
And where before Kenny's went straight up in the air and they shot him to pieces. That was a bad day. They shot a Bird Dog, two Sky Raiders. Kenny's ship was shot up. Mine was shot up that day. It was a bad day.
Was that the day that Kenny got hit?
Yeah, well, he was flying in it, and Mr. Lanier got hit in the leg.
Oh, okay. Okay, Lanier got hit with a .30 caliber, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Because they had a hard time getting him off the stick because he was slumped over on it in pain. They were having a hell of a time pulling him off the stick, but they finally got him off it so they could go in. And they just made it to the end of the runway and he ran out of fuel because they'd shot the fuel line, the crossover tube for the bladders completely in half. So that was a bad day.
I think most of our good fights were in support of the Special Forces camps up around Bodup, Song Bay, Loch Ninh, and that area.
Yep.
The VC always had their shit together when they were up there.
Yeah, I remember flying the New Hog one night, and of course that was Lieutenant Fitzgerald. I think Harold might have been, no, McGee was with me, I think, that night. Danny McGee, my gunner, and he says, well, I'm going to fire 12 pair, and I'm thinking, man, he's going to light the sky up. Well, he does, and he did, and an anti-aircraft started training in on us, and I got one round out of my 60, and the bolt broke. So I'm shooting an M79 out the door, not hitting anything, but it felt good. And our wingman come under us and got him off of us with his miniguns because he was getting close. That was a scary night.
I'll tell you, to me, there was nothing scarier than those anti-aircraft. And then they had two kinds of tracers. They had the orange tracer and the green tracer.
Yep.
And the green tracer was a piggyback, which meant that there were two rounds coming out of each barrel at the same time.
Yep.
And when it came out of the barrel, the round behind it would drop down, and to the left, I think it was 8 inches. So you would see the one, and you knew that 8 inches and below was another one. And it was just, they were scary. And at night, they looked like tennis balls coming at you.
Yeah, tennis balls were softballs.
Yeah,
I mean, Song Bay to us looked like somebody had grabbed a handful of stones and throw it at you. That's how much stuff was coming up between our blades. I don't know why we only got the 2 hits. They did put a big hole in the blades and one in the tail boom, and that was all. I don't know why we didn't get hit more, because they were zeroed in. I think Mr. Morgan saved us.
Oh, I'll tell you, it was amazing. I remember one night at, I believe it was Song Bay, when a quad 12.2 anti-aircraft opened, or 12.7 I think it was, opened up on us. And we had tracers coming up on both sides of us. And why we didn't get hit, I'll never know. But it was just, it was scary.
Yeah, you're right. The anti-aircraft was the worst. They were the worst, because it takes one good hit on that and you're gone.
Yep.
But luckily it didn't happen. They hit stuff that didn't matter. The gunships were pretty tough. They took a lot of beating. Our old B models. They would take a beating.
Well,
Mine had been hit a couple of times. Then, funny time once, it's Harold and I, we were flying. He was my new gunner. And we're looking at a roadblock where they used to block the road and take all the stuff from the village people. We were up there looking around, and it's clear on both sides of the road. You can't see it. I mean, just nothing. No trees, no nothing. And all of a sudden, they started shooting at us, and one hit underneath the helicopter, and Harold jumped up and grabbed his behind. He thought he was shot. I said, you're all right, man. Sit down. You ain't bleeding nowhere. But they put a round in the fuel tank, and those were self-sealing tanks, so it could fly another 100 hours.
Yeah.
But we never seen these people. Never seen them. They had to have been in tunnels, because I mean, it was like being in a desert. There's nothing there, so they had to be in tunnels, because they were shooting right up at us.
I very seldom saw live targets. You know,
I know.
Most of the time I was shooting, it was at where somebody was telling me to fire, or I was shooting at flashes.
Yep, that's right. They were slick, boy. I don't know where they were that day, because we were flying low that day too. We were right on the 50 feet, maybe.
Well, I don't think we knew what altitude was, did we?
No, not really.
I mean, all the good pilots flew low.
Yep.
I've got some, or I had some 8mm movie film of. It was after we had prepped an area for an insertion, and we were coming around, and we were backing to the right, and we were so low over the trees that I actually caught some twigs in the minigun barrels. Now you know that was low.
Yep. Yep. That was the only way to fly, though, I think.
Oh, yeah, I think if we would have flown high, we would have been dead. I mean, flying low, pedal to the metal was the only way to go on a gunship.
Yeah, because he hasn't got much time to get on you. I think that's how Mr. Morgan saved us. He just flew out of their sight line, and we got away from him. Then we came back and raised some hell with him again. But you never know. We heard it was a whole NVA battalion in there. It was just before Tet. A couple of months before Tet.
Well,
yeah, you're right. All that area was hot up there. Locked in, Lock, Song Bay.
I think from about the middle of October till after Tet Offensive in '68 was when we had most of our major battles.
Yes, yes, I agree with that.
Prior to that, I think there were a few, but from October to February, October '67 to February '68 was we were in the air all the time.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. We were either locked in, or Song Bay.
Yeah.
All up around in there. And then there was another place, I can't remember the name of it. It was just a artillery outpost. Boy, them guys got hammered one night. We were in the air for like 12, 14 hours supporting them guys. That was a mess. They blew the ammo dump, and at the end of their runway, they had 250 shooting at us. They're anti-aircraft, but I think these might have been 50, like caliber 50. A little bit smaller anti-aircraft. We couldn't get them. The Air Force couldn't even get them. They ended up, the infantry got them out. That was a bad night. We started at 1 o'clock in the morning and ended about 4 in the afternoon. And I can't remember the name of that place.
Were you with was Harold your gunner most of the time, Harold Kraft?
No, Danny McGee was mine from June till, I'm going to say, September. Then he went home, then Harold come in. And I had Harold most of the time then.
Okay, were you with Harold when he got shot down and he pretty much took over on the ground and I heard one of the pilots talking at one of the reunions. I can't remember which one it was, but he was saying that Harold pretty much saved the day for everybody.
Yeah, he did. He was with Hartley Farmer was the crew chief that day.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, he did. He set up the perimeter for him. And
do you remember that fight?
Yep. I remember when they load that chopper back in. That was the Frog, and it was a piece of junk. They actually did us a favor, but
yeah.
They had to stay that night. You know, we kept ships above them all night, and they pulled them out the next morning then. Because I remember Hartley wanted to start shooting at them because they were trying to mortar them, but they didn't know exactly where they were. And Harold told him, you know, don't do nothing. They don't know where we're at.
Yeah.
Be cool. So they come out the next day. I think Hartley broke his nose. He hit the back of the pilot's seat. I think that was the only injury. But
I tell you, Harley, it seems like every time he went up, something happened.
Yeah, like he's accident prone.
Yeah, we were. He was my crew chief for a while. In fact, he was my crew chief when we got shot down. And I remember one of the first times he crewed. We were scrambling out to ship during a rocket mortar attack, and they were putting the rockets and the mortars down our flight line. And he took a round in the chest, or not a round, but he took some shrapnel in the chest. And it was a diamond shaped piece of shrapnel, and it hit him right in the name tag. And the medic said if it wouldn't have been for that name tag, the piece of shrapnel would have actually hit his heart.
Mm.
So he really lucked out.
Yeah. Yeah, he did. So that means he went down twice. If he went down with you, then he went down twice.
Yeah, he was.
I can't remember. I think it was 917 was the Frog's number. That was Nick Bell's helicopter at first. He was a crew chief on that. Then he got hit. And John was with him the night he got hit.
John Van Gronson?
Yeah. John carried him off the helicopter. But it only took one round when Hartley was crewing it. Took it right through the center of the combustion, or the compressor. Dropped him right out of the air. All he did was flare it in. They were flying low. It was a lucky shot.
Well, the thing about flying low was, by the time they heard you coming, you were gone.
Yeah.
You know, when you're a treetop.
Yep, that's true. Better than 1,000 feet. 500 feet, they can see you. They'll eat you up. They got anti-aircraft crap.
Well, when we flew the people sniffers, we would have one guy low and one guy at what, 1,200?
Yeah.
And the guy flying at 1,200, I always thought was in the worst place, because he was the guy that was going to get hit if anybody was.
That's true. Yeah, I flew many of them missions. They were kind of boring. Well, we had a couple that got hot, but not too many. I don't know how reliable that thing was.
Well, I was on a people sniffer when I got shot down.
Were you?
Yeah. It was like you say, it was boring, and I was sitting back there, and I was writing on little pieces of paper, Spec 4 Vladi, Kakadao Boku VC Mama San Dinky Dow Dowie, which meant VC's mothers are monkeys. And I'm throwing these out the door like propaganda leaflets, you know. And all of a sudden, man, we get hit, and I'm saying, oh shit, you know. And one of the things I did when we hit the ground was I tore my name tag off. just in case one of those pieces of paper landed up in their hands. I didn't want them to know it was me.
Smart thinking.
But I had decided that day that I was going to die because when we hit, I was in a real hurt, and I knew it would just be a matter of time till they found us, and till the VC found us, and I just decided to take as many with me as I could, and then save one bullet for myself because I wasn't going to be captured. There was no way I was going in a tiger cage.
That's pretty much how I felt. I'm sitting on 10,000 rounds. If I can burn that up, then they're still coming. I guess they can have me.
Yeah. Well, they weren't going to have me alive.
Nope, me neither. And I always said that. But if we'd have went in a Song Bay, they'd have got us. They would have had us. Because who knows what kind of shape we'd have been in. Because there was a ton of them in there.
Now Bodup was the farthest north, wasn't it?
Bodup, yep. That's another bad one. Bodup, yeah. Yep. In fact, we flew into Cambodia one time with Max Johnson because he read the map wrong. And so we're into Cambodia and we're seeing tank tracks and all kinds of stuff. So I don't think we're in the right spot. And I think it might have been Mr. Lichty flying AC. Told him, oh no, Max, we're deep into Cambodia. Let's get the hell out of here. We're up by Anlock, and we did then. We got the hell out of there. But didn't see nobody. Just seen tracks and stuff. I think we were lucky. We would have went down there. They'd have never heard from us. We were pretty far in.
Tell me that story that I don't remember. But I was the gunner, and you blew up the house.
Oh yeah, that was outside of Benoit somewhere, and you and I were flying that day. I took whoever the crew chief was place that day. I don't remember the pilots, but the artillery was falling all around this place. It was like a big French mansion, and the artillery was falling all around it. And finally, they called it off, and they told us to go in there. And like you said, you very seldom had a live target, so I thought I like shooting at houses and stuff. So I started shooting at this house and got maybe 200 rounds out, and it blew up. And that's when your pilot turned around and says, man, you ain't lost your touch. And we put red smoke in the tubes on the way back.
Yeah, and I remember we got in trouble for that.
Did we?
Yeah. Yeah, as soon as we landed, the pilots got called up on that, and I don't know, there was some kind of regulation against doing victory passes or something. But I remember putting the red smoke down the rocket tubes.
Yep. Yep. I mean, it disintegrated the house. There had to have been ammo in there. It just totally annihilated. I was surprised myself.
Now that was
never thought that would happen.
That was before Tet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Let's see. That had to be in December, around December sometime.
Okay. Well, that would have been the build-up for Tet then. So.
Yeah.
It was probably a storage area for VC and VA ammo.
Yep. And we hit it. We hit them good. And that's about the scariest ones I had.
Well, when you get into those situations, when the anti-aircraft guns are firing at you and the shit is heavy, you really don't get a chance to think. You don't get scared. You just go into automatic.
You just react.
And then, you react, and then after you land, you think, oh, shit.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's pretty much what happened to me at Song Bay. I mean, I've never had my life flash in front of me like that. It was the most realest thing I've ever went through. And I don't know how I got myself back. I remember just closing my eyes and boom, reality set in. Said, better get it on.
I remember one fight that we were in. It was Song Bay or Bodup, one of those areas, Special Forces camp. And we had been going around the clock on this fight. And so much shit had been thrown at us, I mean, the tracers coming up with us, it kind of looked like the invasion of Iraq. I mean, it was just so many tracers coming up at us all the time, and we would expend our ammo, and then we didn't go back to Fuloy. We went back to the nearest base camp, and I believe it may have been Tay Ninh. And when we would rearm our ships back there, and it got to the point where they had Red Cross girls bringing us coffee and sandwiches. I remember there was a colonel out there helping us rearm, and they just brought anybody from this base camp that they could grab. They were bringing out to link up M60 ammo for us, minigun ammo, and we would go there and rearm, and then go back to the fight. And I remember it was at night, and we were on our way back to the fight, and I'm sitting back here thinking, you know, there is no way that I can possibly survive another mission. They had to get lucky sometime. And the pilots, one of the pilots turned the radio on to Hanoi Hannah. Remember, because she always played the good music? Mm-hmm. And she was playing the theme song from The Good, Bad, and the Ugly. And I heard that, and it was like, okay, man, bring it on. You know, that's rock and roll. It's time to fight.
Yeah, we did do a lot for them guys up there. And then the day, the 2nd, the 28th, Black Lions got hit real bad. I was there the second day.
Okay, that was the fight that the book, The Beast Within. Was it called The Beast Within?
Oh, The Beast was out there.
Yeah, The Beast was out there. That's the fight that book was written about. Yeah.
And I came in the second day as they were pulling the bodies out. It was a mess. And I remember this colonel flying around above grave registration, asked him, or they told him they got one more body. He said, okay. So they went there and they called him back, said it's an NVA. And all he said was, let the son of a bitch rot. He said, get out of there, there's heavy artillery coming. Well, then I talked to Clark Welsh, who, as far as I'm concerned, should have the Medal of Honor right now for what he did in that battle. He told me that when he went back to Vietnam, he talked to a Vietnamese captain that said, they call him a bad soldier. And he looks down at him like, you calling me a bad soldier? So he asked him why, and he said, you leave your dead on the battlefield. And he said, what are you talking about? He said, you left a man 4 days he laid out there till somebody come and got him. Well, Welsh was already in a hospital. He wouldn't have known. But I'm surprised they found him after that B-52 strike because there was nothing left of that woods. It was gone.
So we actually did leave someone there?
Yep. The 5th day they come in and got him. And all that years I thought the VC took off, but they were dug in because they'd come out at night and police their dead off.
Yeah.
And wounded. So they stayed around there. They got through that B-52 strike.
That was really discouraging, you know. We were going to a fight and knowing that we had to have some kills, but there would be no bodies. There would be blood trails, but very seldom would there be bodies.
Yep. Yeah, they drag. That's what he was saying. They would police them, take them in a tunnel, or take them somewhere and bury them and cover it up, and so you could never find them. That was pretty interesting. That's a good book too.
Which book's that?
The Beast was out.
Oh yeah, I read that.
Yeah. General Sheldon wrote it.
In fact, I'm going to read it again, I think.
But I got a chance to talk to Clark Welsh just last time, and he's quite the guy.
Oh, in St. Louis?
Yeah. Yep, and like I said, he's in for the Medal of Honor, and he should have it. No doubt in my mind for what he went through.
Yeah.
He's quite the guy to talk to, though.
I was watching something on, I don't remember what program it was, just the other day. A SEAL got killed, and they're talking about giving him or they did give him the Medal of Honor. And, you know, what he did wasn't all that great. I mean, you know, he did a good thing. He probably deserved maybe a Silver Star or something, but I don't think he deserved a Medal of Honor. And I think that they're kind of giving away medals now just as a morale booster.
It could be. But you know what? They don't get air medals like we used to anymore.
No, and you know something else? I just found this out at the last reunion. The Distinguished Flying Cross has been downgraded.
Did they?
Yeah, it used to be for aerial heroism in aerial combat, and now it's been downgraded to something else.
Yeah, that's something. Well, see, all our time was combat assault. Every bit of our time. We never flew hardly any DS stuff. It was all combat support.
Occasionally, we would fly convoy escort, but that was very, very seldom because we really didn't have the time to do that stuff.
No,
because we were in the air all the time.
Support of them. Yeah. Yeah, our mission was direct support for the 1st Infantry. They got in a bind somewhere. We were out there.
Well, not only that, but we also supported all the Special Forces camps.
Yes, and you're right, and the Arvins, yeah. We did. And even down in Saigon. I mean, I went down there about the 3rd, 4th day after Tet, and it was just outside of Benoit we were shooting up the place. But there was a lot of gun teams in there that time from all over. And I'm pretty sure I know the Razorbacks were there. They were out of Tonsanute.
Well, I was over Saigon for the Tet Offensive. I guess we all were. And there was a target everywhere. I mean, Saigon, the whole city of Saigon was shooting at us. Remember, I think they had a machine gun. The VC or NVA had a machine gun on top of the Army PX in what was it, Chuloy? Or no, not Chuloy.
Cholon.
Cholon, yeah, on the roof of the Cholon PX.
Yeah, they probably did because they were all on the roofs all over the place there. Yeah, then I went down on a convoy about the 5th or 6th day, and it was shot to hell, that place. I seen where they blew the door off the Arvin compound to get in, and you could see where they'd been fighting in the streets because all the windows were shot up, and it was a mess.
You know, one of the things that I remember also was prior to Tet, we would go out in these, it was called free fire zones. We would go out on hunt and kill missions where intelligence would tell us that they would think that someone was coming down, and we would go out and look for them. And some idiot, probably some politician back in the States, we couldn't shoot without getting permission. So we could see him out there in the open, and we had to call and get permission to fire on him. And you had to go through, I think you had to go through TOC, and then TOC had to go through somebody. And, it was ridiculous, and we could see this build-up happening. And they wouldn't let us do anything about it. That was pure stupidity.
Well, that happened to us once, too, on a roadblock. We saw them run away. We had to wait for an Arvin commander to come up in an OH-13 to look around, and we watched them leave. I mean, they scattered. We had them dead to rights, but we couldn't fire on them.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That's probably one of the few times I've seen live targets. Once we come over, they all split up and went different directions. Because they figured we was going to come down on them. Well, we did, but it was too late. They were already gone. By the time they told us we could do anything, it was already over. That was discouraging.
I can only recall, there might have been more, but I can only recall 2 times when I actually caught him out in the open. And one time was on a hunt and kill mission in a free fire zone. And the other time was when one of the Special Forces camps was being attacked. And it was a rare occasion because they were attacking during the day. And we were flying, and I think we were flying south of the Special Forces camp waiting for artillery fire to stop or something so we could go in and make our gun runs. and I saw a whole bunch of them running through the um, um, rubber plantation. And I opened up on them, and I could see them going down. I don't know how many were killed and how many were wounded, but I could see them going down. But that was one of the few times that I actually saw them in the open.
Yeah, it was rare. It was very rare. The infantry usually tell you if you did any damage. I mean, that's the only way we'd find out unless you've seen them go down.
If you saw them go down, or if it was at night and the flashing stopped, then you figured you got a kill.
Yep. Well, it's like a song bay. I shut that one mortar position down, or that one anti-aircraft position down. He stopped firing. I figured I got them. But the other three were still hammering at us. I should have been raking my fire over all of them, but I don't know. I just said, you're coming with me.
That anti-aircraft that opened up on us at Song Bay, it was a quad, and he was pretty far out. And I opened up on him, and there was no way. I mean, I didn't have the range to get a kill out of it, but I was lobbing them in. You know, if I was shot any higher, I would have probably shot into our rotor blades. I was shooting so high. And
yeah.
but he stopped firing, and then that gun was put in a tent at, I believe it was either Quanloy or Lyke.
Quanloy.
Or it was Quanloy?
Yep.
And
that's the same gun that was shooting at us the night where the hog was there.
Oh, it was?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
They got the gun and some rounds. You're holding the gun in one of them pictures.
Yeah, well, somebody told me that I got him. And somebody took a picture of me holding the barrel.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I got him or not, because if I did, it was because they were falling on him, not directly hitting him.
Well, I know we didn't that night, because it was Mr. Lungwich behind us. He just set the miniguns on him, and he stopped firing, and he never fired again. But I think that was only because he didn't want to give up his position.
Yeah.
Because he stopped almost immediately when he started firing.
I think it was Mr. Ulrich that took that picture of me holding the barrel of that. I believe it was him.
That's a 12-7 anti-aircraft too, I think.
Yeah. It was a quad.
Yep.
And that was one of the barrels from it.
Yep. I remember that well. Yeah, it was in Quanloy. Good old Quanloy.
Quanloy and Lyke, we spent a lot of RON time there. You know, what they called rest overnight, but it wasn't resting. It was being there so we were closer to what was going to be happening.
Yeah.
And both of those places were mortar pits, mortar magnets.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Lyke and Quanloy, I think they got rocketed every night. Or
yeah,
mortar
we got hit there one night. And we got called out, too, one night. Because the infantry unit had been hit. And they said they had a KIA and a wounded. Before we went down, my ship was flying on the trees to try to draw their fire. And they never fired at us. But so they went down, and it was a civilian that was wounded. And Kenny Brake was in the other ship, and they picked her up and took her back to an aid station. Which usually gunships aren't supposed to land, but we did. We picked up wounded.
Well, I remember one time we picked up wounded, one wounded guy. It was at a fight, and this guy got hit, and the medevac ship wouldn't go in because there was too much fire. And we expended our ammo and landed and picked up this wounded guy. And they put him in my ship, and you know, he was just a pudgy, pale-skinned kid. Looked like he was brand new in country. And his shirt was open, and there was no blood. There was just these, looked like little slits all on his chest and his belly. And I was holding his hand. He was calling for his mama. And I was holding his hand and telling him he was going to make it, and he died. And when he died, he was holding my hand so tight that I had to pry his hand off of mine. I really felt bad for that kid. He looked brand new in country. didn't have, after you've been there for a while, you have a little bit of a tan. And this guy was just pale white. And he didn't even look like he should have been in the infantry. He was just, he was kind of out of shape, and it was a shame.
Ours, we picked up mostly Arvins that were hurt, where choppers couldn't get there in time or they wouldn't go in. We'd drop in and pick them up.
Were you part of the team one time when we went down, we landed at a special forces camp and took out some Arvins that had been wounded, and one of these guys had been shot in the crotch.
Oh, shit.
And he was a bloody mess, and they put him and his wife in the chopper. It wasn't my chopper, it was somebody else's. They put him and his wife in the chopper together and took him away. But he got it right in the crotch. God, what was going through his wife's mind? Divorce time.
Well, they you had to watch them though, because they'd come on with a little toe hit or something, and we were told one time we landed, we had 2 on stretchers. That's what we were picking up. Well, we get down there, they put him on, and here comes this guy. Somebody's carrying him piggyback, and he's got a bandage on his big toe. And I can't remember who the pilot was, but he turned and looked at me. He says, "Get him the hell off of here." So I motioned to him. He wouldn't go. When I unstrapped the gun, he went. He was running on that toe. The other 2 were pretty bad off. They were hit all over. They were alive when we dropped them off, but I don't know if they made it.
We had, I tell you, my time in the Rebels is my proudest moment in life. That experience can never be topped by anything else I've ever done.
That's
or ever will do.
Yep, it'll never be topped. Never. It was the greatest thing that ever happened in my life too.
And the prestige that we had. Yeah. I can remember walking into the NCO club at Fuloy, and a bunch of infantry guys would be sitting at a table, and they'd see that rebel patch, and they'd call you over and start buying you beers.
Yeah.
It was a great feeling to be looked up to like that.
Oh yeah, it was. You knew you were doing them good. Yeah, that was an experience I'll never forget. I'd do it all over again.
So would I. As I get older, I get a little bit safer in the things I do, but I would do that over again.
Exactly. Well, I got to get going, Larry. They got my supper ready.
Oh, okay. All right, Gary. Well, thanks for this, and when I get some more of these together, I'll put them on a CD and send them to. I forgot her name.
Terry?
Yeah, Terry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send them to her. So, all right. Well, thanks again, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, I'll try to send you them pictures tonight too of that chopper I'm working on.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'll send them. I'll get down there and send them.
Okay.
Okay,
all right.
Larry, take it easy.
Okay, bye now.